So, why track and field?
It wasn't just track and field. In junior high, we had 4 sports, and they were shorter seasons, and they're set so you could be in all 4. And that was football, which I played defensive back and receiver, and you had to play both ways in football in those days. But this was flag football in junior high, and we had basketball and softball and track and field. And track and field came last, and I'm out of this season, what do I do next? And I was an excellent softball player again, could hit long balls, and I was on with the junior high school newspaper called our 3 of us the Murderers Row, because you didn't want to have to go up against those guys. They could hit fast pitch.
So, but I mean, you went to Mount Sac primarily for track and field.
Oh, wait, this is junior high. And then when I got around to track, I just went out. I could run the 50-yard dash, but I wasn't the best. I was fast, quick. I could get out the blocks faster than most people, but I wasn't fast enough to beat lots of people. I was very, very quick. And so I really didn't want to do that, but I wanted to be in something. I didn't know track and field from Adam. And so the high jump came around, and I thought, I'll jump high jump. And I'm one of the kind of guys, I'm short. Let's see how much I can get over, So you had to try out to make the team, and I tried out in a couple of events that I didn't make it. But in high jump, I jumped 4'4", which I always remember, because Jerry Pym, who later played basketball for USC, was the guy I was competing against, and I beat him to go to be on the team. And so I was a high jumper. Then I became a long jumper, triple jumper when I got next year, and I stayed with those things. Then when I went to high school, I was in 3 sports, played basketball, football, now it was tackle football, and it was, they had track at the same time as baseball. So I wanted to be in the baseball team, but I didn't know nothing from track, I knew baseball, and I could hit that ball. So I went out for the baseball team, and I was an excellent fielding. I was probably the best fielder they had in the team, but I couldn't hit a ball from Adam when it come to hitting a small one, throwing fast. Give me one that size, and I can hit it real good. When I would hit, I probably averaged about a 100 batting average, and about 50% of the time I hit it, it went over the fence as a sophomore. I could blast that ball out of there real easy if I could hit the dumb thing. I hit a lot of, swing hard and it goes up here. And I didn't learn to hit to the opposite field, which I could have done and been a much better hitter, because the ball comes in slower when you're letting it fly in a little longer. You looked at it a little longer, but I never learned any of that. So now I was out of baseball, so I went over to the track and started high jumping. And I was one of the better high jumpers right away. I was about 4'7" now, 4'8", something like that. This is 10th grade, so I was 4'11" then.
5'11".
Huh?
5'11".
4'11". In the 10th grade, I was 4'11".
Okay.
And I jumped 5'4" that year in the 10th grade, and scored a few points. The next year, I was 5'5", because I was finally 5'6" when I graduated. But I was 5'5", and I went over 5'10" in the high jump and went to CIF finals, semifinals, finals. Can't remember any one of those. Went out of our league and then to the first playoffs, and then qualified there and went on. And the third thing I went to was at Oxnard High School. From Montebello, that's where they held the third CIF thing. So the next year, and the CIF record was 6'8" then. So I was now 10 inches under this record. The next year in track, the next year in basketball, they were going to try and fix my cartilage, but they put my knee in a cast for 6 weeks during basketball season. Cartilages don't repair by just inactive, so It left me with a stiff knee. Too late to play basketball. So I ran track. Again, always, I didn't run much because I had torn cartilage and it was really tough to do anything with a torn cartilage. I could field, but I couldn't run fast. And I could quick movement, 1 or 2 quicks, sideways. But so track is where I started to shine. And in senior year, I was undefeated in the league, and I'd won some medals in major invitationals around Southern California. And I was looking to jump 6'2" or 6'3", and I was 5'6" now. I was 5'5.5" when I played football that year. 5'5.5", 165. I still got a program from those days. And then I'd grown to 5'6" until I graduated, and that was track year. I was looking forward because I had beaten everybody in the league easily, and we had only had 1 more meet to run, and then I would be undefeated, and then I could have won the league meet, got another medal, and go on. I still had quite a few medals from that year and a few the year before. In those days, they gave medals for winning big things. Now they don't do that much anymore. And guys used to wear their medals on their sweaters. We didn't wear Letterman's jackets in those days. They wore Letterman's sweaters. In fact, our neighbor up here's got one of them, just like I had. And so you got your medals and you would sew them on, and they had little hangers, and you sew them on. But I didn't carry them with me. I just stuck them in a drawer. Anyway, so I got to that senior year, and I was going to be real good. And I couldn't long jump or triple jump anymore. They didn't have triple jump anymore. That was only junior high, but they had long jump, and I couldn't long jump because I couldn't run fast because of my torn cartilage. And I had torn this cartilage, and midway through track season, this locked up. I couldn't bend it, so I walked like this. And so we started talking to the doctor about what we could do. I could walk, just to pull a straight leg where I went, and I could jump. This was my kick leg. So I just threw it over like that. And then I used to have a system where I threw this over and then flipped over with my other foot, just tipped me like that. I learned that on my own because in junior high I had no good coaches in track and field at all. In high school I had zip coaches, and I got out of our school library, they had a picture of the world record holder in the long jump, jumping on a loop. So I took it out of there and took it back out to the gym, and they had a place where I sat down and watched and watched and watched. And as I watched, I mimicked the movements. I'd say, I got to do this, I got to do that. Then I'd go out to practice and do that. And I'd do that until everybody was gone and until it was ready to go home, and so then I'd do that. And so the junior colleges came around looking for athletes. And East Los Angeles JC is where I would have gone to school because it was about 6 miles from our house. But Mount Sac was an hour's drive, way out of the way. But they had the best community college tracks team in the nation, and they had the 3rd or 4th best, in the top 5 nationally among all colleges. And they wanted athletes. And they basically wanted me to go and high jump and score points for them. Not necessarily win things, but I could score points. I had trouble with my leg that year because they did operations where in those days they cut you wide open. Took you 6 months to heal. So as you healed, I also had trouble with the what do you call it? I had trouble with the strength of it, recovering from strength. And so I scored points enough to letter and do well enough, I couldn't run fast yet because I was hurting from that knee. Then the next season, the sophomore season, I had an emergency appendix operation in the off season to recover from, which they cut you wide open to get at it in those days. So it took me a long time to get over to where I was in full strength again, which is my sophomore season. And then I high jumped, I long jumped. I didn't do triple jump because they didn't have triple jump, but I pole vaulted sometimes. now I had these legs, you know, and I was stronger. I had grown bigger all of a sudden. I was now 5'9", or about approximately 5'9", and weighed about 180 pounds, 185. And that was in excellent shape. You know, I was not anywhere fat on me anywhere near me, because I worked out all the time. And I added something that I could never cut. I couldn't run the lower hurdles in high school because of my knee. I couldn't get far enough to the next step. But in college, the higher hurdles we used to practice on for high jumping, because it helped you with your trail leg and that kind of thing. It's kind of mimicked high jumping a little bit. And all of a sudden I found out I could go past the first hurdle. So I thought, well, I'll try it, put another 2 or 3, and I could go through those. And that was good. I don't know how great, but it was good for me. I thought, this is pretty good, you know. And so when we went, our track team crucified other schools. We had a track meet against Citrus College, which is over by Glendora. There's a whole article about it in the Times. Our coach said, we're going to hurt them badly, so nobody can run your own event. Pick a different event. You're all going to run a different event. And I ran the 220 low hurdles, which I died on. It's a long ways to run low hurdles all the way to 220 yards when you don't train for 220 yards. And I pole vaulted. And our 2-miler ran the quarter mile in 49 something, which was an amazing time in those days. And our quarter miler, who was the state champion the year before, ran the half mile in 1:53 or something like that. I mean, it's fantastic times. We still scored 115 points and still creamed them, and the Times wrote that all up. But that school, we competed against USC. We competed against UCLA and some of the other schools in big meets where they were all together. I won a medal up at the Easter Relays in Santa Barbara. I won a medal in Fresno Relays in high jump. I still wasn't a great long jumper this time. I was long jumping, doing okay now and scoring points, but a very interesting year. In the hurdles, I went, first time I ever ran the hurdles, I turned to the coach and I said, Coach, we got 4 guys in this hurdle race coming up against Orange Coast College still there, down in Orange County. It was the only college in Orange County at the time. And I said, we're running against them. Can I run the high hurdles? And he said, well, if you can talk somebody out of the 4, we only got 4 spots. So I talked to a kid named Apodaca, who really wasn't a high hurdler. He was there. And so he said, sure, this week go ahead, and if you do good, we'll let you have it. And so I took off, and one of the first 3 hurdles I was kind of a little behind, and I thought, this is tougher than it looks, you know, when you're going full blast. And so then I finally started getting down on the hurdle and moving forward instead of up and down, moving this way. And I caught up with everybody. And in the last 10 yards, I went out in front of everybody and won the race. And it was like, this is pretty cool. They cheer you, you know, you high jump, you know, a bunch of cheers because you made a height. I thought that was pretty neat. I'd never run races for racing's sake, and I had this legs now with me. And so I went on and finished in the top 5 in the league, which was very good to do and hard to do in those days. Our league was only 2 or 3 leagues in Southern California, and ours was the biggest. And I went on to Southern Cal's, and I finished in the high jump in Southern Cal's in the top 5, but not in the hurdles. I remember hurdling against Compton College, against 2 guys that were big guys, over 6'5", both of them. One of them played fullback for the San Diego Chargers later. I can remember leaning down on my hurdle at 5'9", and he's 6'5", and I'm faced right on his thigh as he's going over. I'm thinking, these guys are big, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was the end of, and that the only thing I really ever did after that in high jump was I went to BYU, and first year I long jumped, and I couldn't high jump because they had too many guys who could jump higher than I could. I could jump 6'5" then, but that would have been 4th place in our team.
So let me help you reroute a little here. When did you start wanting to be a track coach?
Well, when I started college, and my mom sent me to college, you know, not really wanting to go to college. She sent me in And for the track, you had to stay in college for the athletics. And I really wanted to play football and be a receiver, but it just didn't work out with injuries and this kind of, you know, I had a injury to my knee one year, and the next year I had the appendix, and it just didn't work out. So why track, did you say? Why coaching? Well, I changed my major from geology, because I like science, to physical education, because I thought maybe I could coach and teach. As I look back now, I didn't really want to be a coach. I didn't mind coaching, I didn't mind teaching, but I would rather have done something more up here. And that wasn't what happened in this major. I kind of thought, boy, they teach you how to do each little thing, you know, and how to teach this and that. They don't do that. They teach you how to play a sport, you know, so you know all the sports, but there's nothing in depth about it at all, no physiological stuff or anything like that. So but I went into, that was my major. My major had 47 units of biological science in 4 years. And a lot of people thought physical education was pretty easy. It is if you don't want to finish it, you know, if you take just the easy courses of it. I took a year and a half of anatomy and a year of physiology and a year of biology. And
so the PE kind of shoehorned it later into health.
Well, health was when I went to, I didn't have to have a minor until I went to BYU. And my minor was health at BYU. And it was health, and all of a sudden when I was getting close to graduation, my advisor never told me these things. They kind of left it to you. And I looked at my stuff going into my last two quarters, and I said, I'm not going to graduate in health. I don't have enough time to get all those units in. He hasn't been telling me to take these things, you know. So I just decided to take it out of his hands and stop going to him. I would come in, he'd just sign it if I had it set up, you know. So I just took it out of his hands and started reading the catalog real carefully. Found out with the history classes I had already taken that if I took 2 more history classes and I needed 1 more religion class, that I could get a history minor. And I could do that in summer school. I couldn't finish all the health stuff. There would be 2 more classes left for health. So I said, I'll be a history minor for graduation, you know. So I basically had 2 minors. And I graduated, and the summer I had to stay summer because I had qualified for the NCAA finals. And they were in early June. School's out by then. I had to stay anyway for that because I'd qualified in the triple jump. And triple jump was only held in Olympic years in in colleges in the United States. So I tried it while I'd done it in junior high. So I had way ahead of a lot of people, you know. And I was very good at it, and best one at BYU at that year. And according to what they've told me, that may be the first time they ever had triple jump at BYU. So I might have been the school record holder until 1974? No, 67 it would have been. Until 1967 I would have been the school record holder because they didn't do it again.
Right. Okay, so let me transition again.
So I graduated.
There's only 20 minutes left on this.
Okay, I had graduated from college, and I was going to the Air Force. I hadn't planned to coach. I was going to the Air Force, and then they called me from a place in Idaho that I'd never been in Idaho in my life, and said, our coach just died this week. School starts next Wednesday. We don't have anybody. Junior high teacher. Now, could you come up for this year and just fill in for a year? You know, I thought I'd try it just for the heck of it, you know. So I went up there. I had signed a paper with the Air Force, but they said, if you really don't want to go now, we'll take you next year, you know. But they just handed it back to me.
Okay.
And I went coaching up there, and I kept coaching from then on.